Hey there, it's Disha Rosetta, and today's story is a continuation of something that I've spoken on previously. I previously talked about how I shut down the interstate because of being in a car that was reported stolen, or the LoJack was activated. Well, that was only the first part of the story. I mentioned that I ended up going back to South Carolina and staying with my parents. And during that time, my court date came and went. I was calling regularly to check to find out when the court date was. And there came a point where I stopped calling because I got busy or distracted with life, honestly. And one day I called and I realized that I had missed the court date. And they told me that the only way for me to make it right, was to come back and request another court date, which would probably be like the next day or two after I came back. So I got a flight back to California, and the guy that I was seeing at the time decided that he would fly up, I think a day or two after I was going to get there, so that he would be there to go with me to court. So the day before court comes, and I have the worst stomach ache. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach numerous times. I had a headache. I just felt like something was not going to go right the next day of court. So I show up at court. My case is called, and the judge says, well, she doesn't have a bond attached to her case anymore. Take her into custody. Because I had missed the original court date, my bond was rescinded, and so I had to be remanded into custody right then. So for all of you that may not know what all that means, basically I showed up to court to try to do the right thing to get things settled, and they were basically like, you're no longer out on bond, you no longer have bail, you have to be taken into custody immediately. My legs went to jelly. I started to feel like I was going to throw up, because this was not something that I had thought about, that did not cross my mind. I didn't even think something like that would be possible. My attorney told myself and the guy that I was dating at the time that he would contact the bail bondsman, because the bond had been paid. It was a paperwork issue is what I was told, and that it would just take a couple of hours for it to be fixed. A couple of hours turned into 3 days. It turned into this because when the bail bondsman made contact with my father was not nice. Yeah. There were some words exchanged, and the bail bondsman basically said, F you, she's on her own. He would not do the necessary paperwork to attach the bond to this new situation, or to the new case, the new court date, which I was having. So I ended up spending the night, the first 2 nights in jail in Orange County, and not knowing when I was actually going to get out, because paperwork can take a while. Paperwork is tedious, and even though the car rental place had cleared me and they had the car, everything was fine, because months had gone by, it was a paper trail that had to be figured out. So I had to call collect on days, and to the point where it got to my father basically was like, you can't keep calling so often. Yeah, that happened. Also, the hotel that we had basically run out of days, run out of money. And so he had to leave and go to Seattle, which is where he was going after he came to LA anyway. So I was in the jail, the first 2 nights. And then the last night, I had been transported to another facility that was way far out. And I was like, I don't know who's gonna come and pick me up from here, but this is far. I don't know what's going on. And my first day there, it was a larger facility, larger cafeteria, people with different colored, prison gear on because of the different offenses that they had. And instead of being like in a small area with maybe 20 women. Where I slept the first 2 nights, I was in an area where there was probably 100 and 150 women sleeping. And there were very strict rules, about where to keep your clothing, how to keep your area neat. And we were given jobs. And, I basically just had to get into my mind that I was going to be here for as long as I was going to have to be here, even though things would be worked out. But I didn't know how long it was going to take. Well, in the middle of the night, the CO basically like kicked my bed, and I jumped up and got up, and I got up the wrong way. So when they wake you up, you're supposed to get up and like swing your legs to the right, I think it was. And I immediately got up and went to the left, and I was all apologetic. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, it's fine. You were asleep. It's fine. And basically she told me that, I was being released. And I was like, well, okay, great. But I was like, I don't know who is coming to get me. I had an idea of who was going to come, but that was back in the old facility. So I didn't know if word had gotten out to her that she needed to come to this place. So I am released, go through the processing, and I go outside and I see my friend Mecca. And she had done her due diligence to find out where I had been moved from one facility to another. She was checking to see like the status of my paperwork, to see where I was in the release process, all while I had no real idea of what was happening because I didn't have access to a phone like I did before. So that's the second part of that story. She picked me up, took me back to her place. And honestly, I don't even remember what happened after that. I was just so grateful to be out of that situation. Life went on, obviously, but that was the second time that I was arrested. The same over one particular situation. Second time arrested, charges dropped, record clear, all is well. But paperwork. So that's part 2 of that story. Thanks for Thanks for listening and watching. Love you. Thank you. Toodles. Bye.